Hey guys, John deRoulet here, Head of Revenue Management Education at Wheelhouse. And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of market data in Myrtle Beach. 2025 is off to a pretty interesting start this year. And so we're doing a series where we're doing data deep dives. We're bringing our clients, potential clients, and just anyone with properties in the market to kind of come together and talk about data trends. We're getting ready for our call here in a week or so in Myrtle Beach. So if you would like to join, let us know. We'll put you on the list and get ready for great kind of focused conversation on Myrtle Beach. In the meantime, I'm going to look at some snapshots of some high-level data to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about, and hope you enjoy. Okay, so the first thing I kind of want to talk about is just some general occupancy trends. Just so you're aware, the Myrtle Beach area is a pretty big market area, so Wheelhouse does have this split up into North Myrtle Beach, which is a little bit larger at about 15,000 listings. And we also have just what we call Myrtle Beach, which would be that area south at about 10,000 listings. So I do have both pulled up right now. And the first thing I want to talk about is just the general occupancy trends. I think it helps to get kind of an idea of what's going on. It's, obviously been a few months of the year, so we do have a little bit of idea about how things are going, and we can kind of see general trends on what to expect. So looking at the year over year between North Myrtle Beach here and Myrtle Beach, we obviously have very similar trends as we would expect, particularly in terms of overall seasonality and things like that. When we look at the North Myrtle Beach area, our high season is obviously going to be this June, July time period, a little bit of consideration into August. We've got a shoulder through the spring. Now, interestingly, unlike some of the areas a little further south, the spring starting in March doesn't seem to be quite as strong, really just kind of stepping up from the low season and staying pretty consistent March, April, May. And then we get a little bit stronger performance as the year tails out through the fall. That's going to be true here too. We have the strong June, July, kind of that step up for the spring and that tail down in the fall. Now, first thing to note when we're looking at both North Myrtle Beach, and this is also true on the other one as well, is 2025 has started out already a little lower. We've seen some attrition and occupancy in January and February, which honestly aren't really that strong time periods. So not going to be something that a lot of you will notice because there's already so much vacancy in the market, but pretty big attrition in March. I mean, right now it's the end of March. And so that is a pretty big drop year over year. We're looking at almost 10% occupancy, maybe a little bit more, from 33 to 45 at the market level. And that's going to be a pretty big difference. When we look over at regular Myrtle Beach, we're seeing a similar drop as well, although it's not quite as dramatic, at only about 7%. So overall, those Q1 trends where we're just starting to see attrition and the occupancy seem to be becoming evident. Now, I am looking at the entirety of the market. So something I do like to check as well is just what's going on the highest performance tier of the market. So on North Myrtle Beach, when I switch this to the highest performing, like 10 to 15% of listings, you can see we are still seeing a little attrition, but not near as much and not near as low. So obviously the high performers are performing better, but we're still seeing that attrition occur overall. And in general, we also see a little bit higher performance in the spring overall as well. Now, what does that mean? That's a little bit of a concern here. We're starting to see this kind of really not be so good. We do look like we have really strong kind of April on the books at 27%. It looks like it's possible we could get there, but there's also a chance that we see attrition. We also do know that we have Easter here, and Easter is a little bit stronger here than in some other areas. And then we have some early booking for summer, a little bit of a dip in May, coming back up in June. But the question is, are we going to continue to see this trend of attrition? Is what's going on in the kind of economic world around us going to continue to affect us? And are we going to see this get better, or are we going to see this get worse? Those are some of the questions that we're going to be talking about on our call. We're going to be talking about strategy and how you can kind of approach that from a revenue management perspective. Something else I like to just take a quick glance at, as we get our bearings about how things are going, is just these occupancy trends at the daily level. So far you can see that this time period here from March 31st to April 4th last year was Easter. This year, that's remaining very, very low. So we're obviously losing a lot of that kind of revenue. However, we're hoping that we gain it back over here from maybe April 12th through April 25th. This pickup is looking pretty strong. Now, we have a long way to go, so there is a lot of pickup that has to occur between now and really 2 weeks from now. So I am questioning whether we're really going to hit that same level of market occupancy, because we'd pretty much have to at least double what's on the books. But the other thing that's kind of interesting too is instead of a big spike for Easter here, we do have it kind of spread out across a couple of weeks. So it's possible that this total time frame might equal the Easter kind of revenue we're losing at the end of March, beginning of April. As we go a little further on the calendar, this kind of April 28th through May 19th period seems a bit weak. That might be a good spot for revenue managers to really try to drive occupancy. It does look like, last year this built up and there was a little bit of a spike here in mid-May. That doesn't quite seem to be appearing. But we are still seeing this end of May spike, which is good. That kind of Memorial Day does look like it's packing on quite a bit of reservations right now, and that's looking pretty good. Moving into June, we see a pretty strong amount of occupants in the books. Obviously, it looks like the length of stay requirements are much higher. Now, if you do find that you're starting to pace behind or you're a little worried about pacing behind, something you might be able to do before you cut the rate is really actually cut some of the minimum length of stay requirements, particularly in parts of June. You can be very targeted with it. Without having to give up on the rate, but it does look like that the market is pretty much requiring that longer length of stay. It looks like it did it last year because you can see there's big spikes on the weekend in the spring, but not so much in the summer. However, this early June is something that I would really look for. It looks really strong right now. It's probably one of the top summer periods on the books, but last year we didn't quite get as high of occupancy as mid-June, so that early June might be a good opportunity now to experiment with different minimum length of stay rules. Now, as we go to July, you can see we start to get a little bit of a drop-off, which is a bit of a concern for me. People seem to be booking through the 27th. Now, we are pretty early still, but that does just kind of drop off and gradually come down. What you're doing in this time period really depends on what kind of pacing you're seeing in your own portfolio. And I also think you have to compare that to whether you think things are going to be worse or better than last year. If you think they're going to be better, that's probably going to encourage you to hold rates to really kind of push things a little closer in. If you think things are going to be worse, it's probably going to encourage you to cut rates a little earlier, try to pace ahead on occupancy, and try to get ahead of the market there. So a lot of different things up in the air, a lot of big macro news coming out. Really excited to have this conversation, so I hope you guys join. We'll have a conversation about the strategies that revenue managers are doing, the kind of data we're seeing, and the kind of macro data and what might be going on in the overall travel environment to hopefully help you navigate an interesting year. Anyway, hope to see you on the call. Let us know if you'd like to join, and otherwise have a great day. Bye.